The next question is for you, Mr. Reed. And of course, I think we're all talking about jobs. Everybody talks about jobs. So regarding jobs, what would you propose to do to increase the number of jobs in this district?
You know, one thing we have to do is we have to take a hard look at the regulatory burdens that are put on small business of the district, of the nation. You know, we put those 71,000, almost 72,000 miles on the car traveling around this district, talking with people and listening to people. And just the other day, yesterday, it's all blending into one to me because it's just been a long road and I sometimes forget what day it is. But yesterday we were with a group over in Steuben County, other side of Hornell near our court. And there's a lady over there. Her and her father run a sand and gravel mining operation with 7 employees. And she put together a list for me. And there's 40 agencies that she has to deal with in order to run that sand and gravel mining operation over in that area of our district. 40 agencies. She has a full-time employee dedicated to filling out the paperwork up and down on every aspect of that business operation. That's not acceptable. And to her, they're teetering. And they're talking about going out of business. So to me, that hit home. It's completely unacceptable to have that regulatory burden put on our small business of America. And we would firmly try to encourage everybody to go out. You know, I look at the young students here. Take a chance. We need to reward the innovators. We need to reward the people that are willing to go out and be entrepreneurs, and rather than villainize them and tax them and raise their tax burdens.
Sounds like you should be running for state assembly. My family builds roads and does a lot with asphalt, and those regulations come from the state of New York, not the federal government. Here's what a congressman needs to do in this district. First thing is clean energy. Again, I'm the only candidate in this election that actually has a comprehensive economic development program. Clean energy means not just how we produce energy, it's not just solar panels or windmills or things like clean nuclear, which includes liquid sodium-cooled reactors. It's also how we consume energy. This room, for example, could have its energy efficiencies upgraded by having better lighting that consumes less energy to keep the lights on, wiring that is more conductive, heating that traps and retains heat through better insulation or better efficient use of furnaces, better windows. And it's not just about consumption, it's also about distribution. Everybody in here has a cell phone. Your cell phone operates on what's called a lithium-ion battery. I got news for you folks. Lithium is not going to be around all that much longer. We're running out of our current reserves in Nevada. The only other places on the planet where we mine it are Bolivia, South Africa, and ironically, maybe soon Afghanistan. But there isn't enough lithium to go around to meet future battery usage in hybrid electric vehicles for the 21st century. We're going to have to come up with a better battery solution. My fiance has a PhD in chemistry. She thinks she can make carbon nanotubule-based batteries. That would be profound. That's the type of industry we're going to need going forward. How we achieve that is the same way that we were able to develop the jet engine. General Electric had a lot of startup costs when they tried to build the jet engine. And the government provided a ton of tax incentives for people to get educated to be aerospace engineers, for business to invest in it, and for folks to actually go into the industry. As a result, aerospace is one of the only areas where we as Americans still lead on a global scale. If you think about this for a second, if we can answer that global demand for the 21st century, we can talk about putting entire generations back to work here in this district, and more importantly, develop the economy that we're going to need to prevent the brain drain from continuing. Clean energy is going to solve our employment problems. It's going to solve our cost of living problems because we have the second highest utility cost in the country in this district, but we're uniquely suited to play a role in this. And I'm the only one up here articulating that vision. What you heard from Tom was a wonderful political answer with absolutely no solutions to go with it.
Social Security. And privatization of Social Security is always on the table.
Sure.
And it's been discussed at length. Given the downturn in the market, given the status of the economy, where do you stand on privatization of Social Security?
I'm completely and utterly opposed to it. Now, Tom's going to sit up and tell you he is as well, but he's going to say he wants to have the debate. If it's your vote that actually casts the deciding factor on the floor and we end up privatizing Social Security, are you going to be able to look at all these people when their retirement fund is gone because Wall Street gambled it away and say, well, sorry, I was sound on my principles, but you unfortunately are going to have to go out and work at the age of 74. I'm not. Look, Social Security's worked for 75 years for a reason. We had enough people paying into the system that we were able to continue going forward. My pledge to you is this. I vow never to privatize it. I vow never to implement a means test, which is just a fancy way of saying some unelected bureaucrat in Washington will get to decide whether or not you qualify for the benefits that you've all been paying into. Instead, I'd like to see us actually grow our economy. It's worked for 75 years. And most importantly, we need to stop raiding the trust fund. We've got an entire generation of leaders in Washington who feel that the way that we should continue to pay for frivolous government spending is to take your retirement and take it for a ride. I think that's got to stop. But I'm the only candidate up here who's willing to say that privatization is not and will not ever be on the table.
Privatization, let's be very clear. We are 100% adamantly opposed to it. And Matt, what I will tell you is that if the vote comes down to me, whether or not to privatize Social Security, I will tell you right here, right now, that I will vote in opposition to that proposal. Can't be any clearer than that. And I can tell you, we have a fundamental test in our family. It's a family tradition that we always have to be able to look ourselves in the mirror. And if I betray that trust to you, I won't be able to pass that test in my own household. And that's not acceptable to me. When it comes to Social Security, what I've said is that we need to have the debate. For too many years, you're right, Matt, there's elected officials for generations that have raided the trust fund, and now, most importantly, they won't even talk about solutions or even talk about the issue because they want to be politicians as usual. I stand for having a full and open debate on it. I stand for a full and open debate on the issue of privatization. I'm opposed to it. Privatization is put on the floor. Let's debate it. Let's let our principles of opposition win the day. But through that debate, we may have some solutions that we never thought of that came forward. That's what representing is all about. That's about doing the job of having that open and honest debate. Means testing, all the issues that are talked about when it comes to Social Security have to be vetted and fully and honestly debated. To me, there's nothing wrong with that. To me, that's good. That's what we need more of in government. And I'm firmly committed to that.
All the issues you say are up for debate. What about the retirement age for full benefits? It's already been increased. Should the amount of Social Security taxes that are paid be increased to generate the more added revenue? And will benefits have to be cut? What would you do to assure people that Social Security will be around when they are ready to retire?
First, I will firmly commit and stand in front of you and tell you that people receiving Social Security benefits now, their benefits cannot be touched. To the people, that generation that's coming into retirement that relied on Social Security as part of their retirement plans, those are generations, probably 1 to 2 generations out of retirement age, they cannot be touched. They cannot be taken off the table. But I think what's going to end up happening is, and it's going to be twofold, and I agree, if the economy prospers, when the economy prospers, that's going to solve some of the problem because we're going to get a lot of people back to work and they're going to be contributing to the fund. So I agree with Matt on that issue. That fundamentally has to occur. And that's why it's so important this election cycle that that's the number one issue, is the economy and getting our fiscal house in order. And so I think solutions that are going to be put out there are going to deal with generations such as mine, such as my children, as to what they can expect, as to what return they can have on their Social Security. And through that generation sacrifice, the solution to the Social Security problem will be generated.
Well, Tom, while that was a wonderful political answer, it didn't actually tell the people what you actually really think. Unfortunately, we don't need politicians right now. We need real leadership. When I was in Afghanistan, I couldn't just shout some platitude to my men, be like, take the hill, guys, and not provide them with any real direction. We need people who are going to actually articulate what the real solutions are. So let's have this talk. Currently, Social Security payroll taxes are capped at $106,000. Every nonpartisan organization on the planet will tell you that if you remove that cap and let it increase, it's a means of making the system solvent. I support that. I do not support, however, raising the retirement age, and I certainly don't support cutting benefits. This is a sacred trust that for 75 years has worked, and we need real leaders who are going to stand up and say that there are currently solutions on the table. And again, I go back to privatization. I think James Madison would be thrilled that you'd love to have the opposition have their debate, but the 66% of seniors who depend on Social Security in this district will not be so pleased with you if we do end up having that debate. Privatization does pass, like your leader of the party that you belong to, John Boehner, has said will be his first priority in office, and we let Wall Street go to town with our retirement. You all remember what happened in 2008 with the housing market. Do you think you want that to have happen with our retirement fund? Because I certainly don't.
You've been critical of the fact that for the last 2 years, there's been no increase in Social Security benefits because of the cost of living increase, or lack of increase. Is it time to change the way the COLA is calculated?
Yes, and this is one area Tom and I agreed with. The formula for calculating it is outdated, it's antiquated, it hasn't been adjusted since 1975. It's based on a combination of factors, the consumer price index and real wages earned by urban living, usually using some sort of amalgam of the largest number of American cities. Tom and I both agree it's antiquated. It's gotta change. This is the second year in a row where we haven't had payments increase. I mean, look, Wall Street made $140 billion last year, but the rest of us didn't. We're still feeling the effects of this profound recession, and we need to do something about it. And for our seniors, that means our cost of living has gone up, despite the fact that this antiquated formula says otherwise.
Yeah, the COLA formula is an antiquated formula. It's from the 1970s. I think it's heavily based on energy costs, and it needs to be updated. I think it needs to be brought into current. I think at the time that it was established, there wasn't as much information out there as we get today with the internet and the software programs that are pulling in data every hour of the day. I think we can do a better job of really getting a handle on what inflation is and defining it better than what they've done historically in the issue. Because, just the other day, I filled up the tank and it was $3 a gallon, and it went up 20 cents in the last 2 weeks. That is real money that's impacting real people and who are living on fixed income. So I think that needs to be, there's a technology out there that can take that into consideration